Chinese products. You either love them or you hate them. Well, let's find out if you love them. Stay tuned.
Here I am, Vietnam.
Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. Welcome to another episode. Well, here we are. Now we're getting into some lenses. You know, as you know, our theme for this channel is all about budget photography for beginners. You know, how to save some money. And one of the things that I first started with before getting into vintage lenses, I started out buying the Nifty 50, which was $125 or so. I bought a 35 millimeter Yonggyo, I think however you say it. That lens kind of sucked really, so I didn't use it much. But when I discovered, through doing some internet research, I discovered a Chinese company called 7artisans. Now, of course, like most people, I think, oh, it's coming out of China. It's probably some not so great quality stuff, but that's true in some extent. There's a lot of cheesy Chinese products out there.
Ancient Chinese secret
that you may not want to go spending a lot of money on because they may not last so long or whatever. But there are some good quality stuff that comes out of China, just like any country. You can't say that one place makes terrible stuff and one place makes great stuff. But 7artisans is a good example of a company out of China that makes decent camera lenses. And one of the things I like about them the most is that they're not too expensive, but they're also very durable. They're all metal. There's a little plastic here and there, but it's mostly metal. And if you compare that to my Canon Nifty 50, which is all plastic, it's $125. Some of these here, I have 4 examples here, range around that themselves. So therefore, what would you rather have? Something that's plasticky and could break on you at any second, or something that's metal and may last a long time. Now, one of the drawbacks, of course, with 7artisans is that they are manual for the most part. I think they do make some autofocus lenses, but I don't have experience with them and really any knowledge about them, so I'm not going to speak about that. But I started off with some sampling with some 7artisans, and they're all manual focus. But manual focus to me is just like buying a manual transmission car or a motorcycle or whatever. There's some people who go, oh, I have to have automatic. But if you drive a stick shift car, you find that it's actually more fun. And I find the same thing with my photography. When I use a manual focus lens, I find it more fun actually, because it involves you more in the process of taking the photograph, besides composition and lighting and all the other things to look for. Manually focusing gets you much more intimate with your
that's what she said, with
the process. So anyway, what got me involved with this was with, and I've already talked about, I have the Canon M50 here, which is an APS-C sensor. And that's what 7artisans focuses on, is APS-C size, and micro four thirds is another format that they build to. But I started out, like I said, with my M50, and the very first one I got to introduce what I have here is a range from my fisheye lens, 7.5 millimeter, to a 25 millimeter, to a 35 millimeter, to the 55 millimeter. And the 55 is the first one that I purchased, because the 50 millimeter range is kind of my favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
So this was the first one that I purchased, and I was quite happy with the results I was getting with it. So I ventured off. I think the next one I got was the 35, and then the 25, and then the fisheye. So I wanted a nice range of lenses to kind of play with, so to speak, in my adventure here with my M50. So you know, just to go through the range with these, starting off obviously with the fisheye, because we're here on the left closest to the camera. The other thing too is their caps are, for the most part, metal. This one and this one, the 35 are metal, versus the 25 and the 55 are plastic. But still, this is a, you know, a nice metal lid. You could see here by the lens, you know, 7.5 is quite the bulbous front element on this device. Now it's a 7.5 f2.8. You know, again, for fisheye, that's great. You know, everything when you use fisheye lenses, just about everything's in focus anyway, so it's not that much of a big, you know, selling point on that. But it goes f2.8 to f22. The closest focal distance to this to be able to focus on something is 12 centimeters. You know, as I said, it's a really cool, fun lens. Obviously, you're not going to use it in very many circumstances, but you know, I'll show you some photo examples in a minute. I'm using my newborn son. He's at this point in the video, he's seven weeks old. So I'll be using him as a model to show these things, as well as some outdoor shots of the garden behind my house here. But you know, aperture blades in this thing is 11. The count.
The number of the day is 11. Wonderful.
There's 11 blades in here. Makes for some, you know, some smooth bokeh if you do get it out of focus. But that's not what fisheye lenses are really all about. You know, it's just to show you what it looks like on the camera itself, and also the equivalent. You know, again, APS-C sensor, which means yes, it's 7.5 millimeter, but it's not 7.5 millimeter. Of course, that's a
I hate math.
11.25 millimeter if you do the 1.5 times crop on that, which is not the Canon, but it is for you know, Fujifilm and Sony. But for APS-C Canon, it's 1.6 crop. So you multiply that and you get a 12 millimeter equivalent, full frame equivalent they call that. So these, of course, I bought all of these in the Canon mount. So I don't need any adapters. They just load straight onto the camera. And as you can see, it's got a nice form to it. It's you know, it looks great. You know, taking some pictures. I look at here, and of course you can't see what I see, but that makes the room that much larger. Looks great. So anyway, so that's the fisheye. That's the 7.5. As I said, you know, I'll show you some photo samples in just a minute. So maybe I'll tag those in right now, actually. So fit them right here. On to the 25 millimeter. Now this is, you know, again, all of these are relatively inexpensive compared to an autofocus name brand, you know, lens, whether it's from Canon or Sony or Nikon or anybody else. These are relatively inexpensive. So this one here is a 25 millimeter 1.8 lens, and again, it's fully manual, and it's nice and smooth. Again, all metal construction. The aperture ring on all of these lenses are also declicked, and that's great for videographers, you know, out there who want to change their aperture in while filming without that annoying click that comes along with it. So this is the again, the 25 millimeter 1.8. It has minimum focus distance of 18 centimeters. You know, so again, these things are not that far from getting a close focus on them. This one has 12 aperture blades. So again, a nice number. It makes for a nice smooth bokeh for those who are into the out of focus or the quality of the out of focus background, which bokeh is. So remember, bokeh doesn't mean out of focus. Bokeh is the actual quality of the out of focus background. And bokeh is a Japanese word, by the way, for those who may or may not know already. So at a 1.5 crop times on this, it is a 37.5 millimeter equivalent in full frame world. And the APS-C Canon 1.6 crop, it is 40 millimeter equivalent. So again, the form factor on here, again, nice low profile, looks nice. You know, you obviously get your fingers in there for focusing, but looks great. Take a nice picture. Sweet. All right, so that's the 25. So let's take a little time out to look at some samples of the 25 to see what that looks like. So this is a 35 millimeter, again, metal lid. It would be nice actually if it had little clasps to hold on to, but it has like a little felt or rubber ring on the inside that kind of holds it snug to the lens, but it's still possible for it to pop off. But again, it is metal. Now this one, the specs on this one, 35, is a 1.2. 1.2. That's not bad for a 35 millimeter. It's a good fast focal length for that. And it's you know, again, it's 9 aperture blades on this one. And again, that's a great number for, you know, a lot of cameras have like 6 aperture blades. You know, so 9. Although it's not a lot compared to these others, it still creates a nice smooth bokeh on that. You can probably see it better with the white background here. But anyway, it is its closest focus point is 35 centimeters, which is not as, you know, as great as these guys, but it's equal to this one actually. But it's great for street photography. You know, it's great for a wider angle, but not too tight, like a 50 or an 85 kind of thing. You could actually use it for portraiture, especially if you're looking for environmental portraiture, where you're looking to capture some of the background in there. So with the 1.5 crop on the Sony and Fuji and whatnot, it is equivalent to 52.5 millimeter lens, and on the Canon here, which is a 1.6, it's a 56 millimeter lens. So you know, again, a nice low profile. The focus rings at the front make it easy, and of course with focus peaking, like in these kinds of mirrorless cameras, focus peaking make it very easy to get it in focus. So very nice indeed for a 35 millimeter. It's a 1.2. So anyway, let's take a look at some samples of that. So again, back to my son and the garden. So this is the 55 millimeter, and it's a you know, it is quite a quite a beautiful lens, really. I mean, of course you can't tell by just looking at it through the video here, but you know, 55 millimeter, 1.4. Again, in today's world, you know, the faster
Faster than a speeding bullet.
the aperture, the greater the background out of focus can get, the depth of field. You know, it's great for portraiture and whatnot, and that's what this lens really where it shines. It's great. Its closest focal range is going to be 35 millimeter, just like the 35 millimeter. So you know, about this far away to get things in focus, which is very nice. And it has the highest number of aperture blades in this collection that I have. It has 14, and with those 14, you know, of course, as I say, you can't really see through this video, but you know, it makes for a nice, smooth, out of focus background. I mean, when you stop down, which means the iris is getting smaller in the aperture, it's very circular, it's very round and whatnot. So it makes for a nice, smooth background on that. And you know, again, back to the equivalence factor at a 1.5 crop on the Fuji and Sony's, you know, you're looking at an 82.5 millimeter equivalent, a full frame equivalent. And you see even the 55's got a nice size to it. It doesn't stand too far out. It's not heavy. Doesn't impact much. But with the 1.6 crop factor, it's an 88 millimeter equivalent. And you know, as I say, with the focus peaking, it makes for very nice, and the background is blown out quite nicely on that. So I was, as I said, I was very happy with the performance of these, as I said, these Chinese lenses. They, you know, they're a great bang for the buck. You know, this is modesty photography. This is all about, you know, saving money. 7artisans is an option for you. Besides, as my you know, one of my first videos when I talked about vintage lenses, you know, my collection behind me here. You know, vintage lenses are great too. They're all quality brand. I'm actually shooting this video on a Canon FD 24 millimeter lens. It's a vintage lens. You know? So that's the gist of this video. Oh yeah, I gotta show you some samples of this. Don't let me forget that. Thanks for reminding me, by the way. And here are those samples. Save yourself some money. You know, buy one of these just to check it out. You know, test it out. If you could test it out with a friend or something, that'd be, you know, if somebody else owns one and lets you borrow it for a while to put on. As I said, they make lens mounts. You know, these ones are all for my Canon EOS M mount. But they make them for, you know, the Sony E mounts, for Fujifilm, even for Micro Four Third cameras, Olympus and Panasonic. You know, they make native lens mounts so that you don't need adapters or anything else. You just plunk it right onto your camera and away you go. And again, for the price that you pay for these things, you know, it's you know, you really can't beat it. So so that's the purpose of this video, just introducing you to 7artisans. It's an idea, it's a concept, it's you know, an option for you to explore. Anyway, they have, you know, numerous other lenses out there too. There's actually a 50 millimeter 1.4 I'm thinking of grabbing next to test it out, to add to my collection. Like, I don't have enough 50s already. But anyway, that's pretty much it for Camera Talk with Dr. Scott this week. So this is Modesty Photography signing off, telling you take care, have a great weekend, and remember, you belong here. Don't forget to subscribe. Everybody should subscribe so you get more of more of these entertaining videos coming your way. And hit the like button too while you're at it. That YouTube likes that. They like the like button. Or as Peter would say, smash it. So take care, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next round.
Here I am,